Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. This episode goes back to July 13th, 1954. The episode is entitled Murder by Error.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Distemper is a human failing, but don't ever try blowing the lid of your coffin. You'll only frustrate yourself.
A National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. A long-legged blonde follows you to the ends of the earth. Don't always feel flattered, friend. She might only be tailing you. Such was my case on the public streets one sultry summer's evening. A doll panting after me, but keeping a discreet 50 or so yards between us. I got a look at her face without turning around. How? A gimmick standard with cops. A pocket mirror held in front of me. My pursuer was good-looking, with twin dimples in her cheeks and an aristocratic hook to her eyebrows. I let her follow me into a cocktail lounge. Inside, I watched her fidget at the far end of the mahogany bar for a couple of minutes. When the sweat began to spoil her makeup, I joined her. Hello.
Look, you're wrong
If I confuse you with a pickup, I don't.
Well, then,
Cry wolf if I'm wrong, but I get the impression we've been inseparable for hours.
inseparable?
I left my office at 3:45. I've been east, north, south, and west, and now it's 5:15. In all that time, the shadow I threw was you. Well?
No, you're right. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but follow you.
I'm your dream man?
I meant nothing personal.
Oh, that deflates me.
If I can explain.
Do.
At 3:45 outside your office building, I didn't dare come up.
Why not?
I discovered that I myself was being followed.
Oh.
You were strongly recommended to me. As a confidential investigator, I could trust implicitly.
To whom do I owe that bouquet?
Never mind. I followed you, hoping we could eventually talk somewhere without being observed. Like this.
What makes you think we're alone with each other now?
What makes... You mean the person following me?
I do mean.
I haven't seen him for the last hour.
Shadows don't generally quit, any more than you did. Now, look around.
He's not in here.
Describe him.
Oh. Unusually small man with an enormous head, totally bald. He wore an odd candy-striped suit.
You're describing a freak.
He did look freakish, yes.
Tell me, lady, how do you, feel generally?
I'm quite sane, believe me.
Which brings us to your problem.
It's more precisely my husband's problem.
Well, introduce yourself.
Vera Baxter. My husband is J.C. Baxter.
You say that like J.C. Baxter is a muckamuck.
My husband is someone substantial.
Rich, upper class, a figure in the business world?
All of those things, yes. He hasn't been himself for months. He's morose, secretive. He can't eat, he can't sleep. I believe my husband is submitting to blackmail.
Does J.C. know you're aware of his situation?
No, he doesn't know. He's always been violent on the subject of his own privacy, his own private affairs. Mr. Craig, I'm frightened for him. And for myself.
Then you want me to pinpoint what it is that has your husband in the toils?
Yes, watch him. Follow him if need be. See who the persons are who telephone him, molest him,
And?
If humanly possible, help my husband out of his predicament.
Don't you maybe mean if morally possible? If fellow yielding to blackmail, he's generally a little dirty himself. I played tail on the monkey to J.C. Baxter for 36 hours, on foot and by automobile. J.C. leading the parade in an expensive custom job hardtop, and me rattling behind him in a jalopy no self-respecting junkie would even buy for salvage. I knew the trip wasn't just a waste of gas by the route J.C. was taking. All back roads and the fringe areas where the city began to look like the Sahara Desert. I watched him slow up, crossing a small bridge. I could guess what J.C. was up to on the bridge even before I saw the parcel go sailing over the bridge rail. I let him speed off before I stopped. A familiar payoff pattern. Money thrown into a specified area. A blackmailer wanted dough, but didn't want to be identified taking it. I went to see how much was in the parcel. From the weight to the parcel, there was plenty. Plenty was an understatement. I only needed to look to estimate the payoff at $10,000. No bill bigger than a 20. I restored the parcel. The anonymous caller would find it in the bushes below the bridge. He'd find the dough, and he'd also find me. The moon was out, and the cricket serenade was going full key when somebody came looking for the money. A little guy, not too much taller than the reeds, and a big round head to him, the size of a circus balloon. When he finally found the parcel, I found him flush on the jaw. He came to with his balloon head noticeably deflated. He had a complaint.
Oh, I'm bleeding from the ear.
And I'm bleeding from the heart.
Hey, what'd you want to go and hit me for?
I get uncontrollable fits of violence.
What? Hey, who are you?
A cop. Your name?
Lou.
Lou what?
Too hard to pronounce.
Make a try at it.
Zyma Particus.
Zyma Well, we'll settle for Lou.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Now, tell me why J.C. Baxter thinks your silence is worth $10,000 to him.
Why, J.C. who is what?
The $10,000 you had your fat little hands on in this parcel. Why do you rate it?
Let me take this slow, huh? You're telling me there's $10,000 real money in that bundle?
I am.
And that it's coming to me?
You had possession of it when I conked you.
Well, sure, I had it all right. There's no doubt as to that. Only I thought it was just some old paper.
Work up an act, you'll only promote yourself into bleeding all over.
Mister, let me tell you, I only came down here looking for old newspaper.
What for?
For the frogs. So I could make a bundle when I catch them.
Catch frogs?
See. See over there by the pond?
So?
Frogs. When the moon is full like now, there's millions of frogs. Here, see this flashlight I got on me?
What about it?
Well, I sneak over to the bank there, and I shine the flashlight right in their eye. It hypnotizes the frogs. All I have to do is pick them up and wrap them.
Now, what do you want with frogs?
The Valencia Laboratory over on Mercer Boulevard. You know, the medical students? I get a quarter for every frog.
That's your story.
Yeah, so you see, you got a case of mistaken indemnity. You don't want Lou's,
Particus.
Thanks. My own name had me.
Yeah, we can fix that.
How's that?
Shorten it. Shorten it to a number. Let's go.
Irregardless, I'm pinched, huh?
Irregardless. Come on. The frogs won't miss you. Riding back to town with my frogman in custody, my jalopy began to shake as if age and abuse had finally gotten her.
Hey, the heat shimmying from side to side.
Yeah. Wheels are wobbling front and rear, like,
old age.
Like all the bolts are worked loose.
Hey, come on, stop before we turn over. You said arrest me. You didn't say kill me.
Bolts had come loose, all right.
Any minute you'd have lost 4 wheels.
Yeah, but not from natural causes, Buster.
Not?
Human hands did this, while I was down in the reeds pollywogging with you.
Or, hey, why would somebody
The
want...
answer to that's in the car now approaching. You want to bet? guy behind the wheel with a big beak pushing through a handkerchief he wore as a mask. The play was his. Who wanted to argue with a gun?
Hey, you there, Shorty.
Me?
Yeah, you. Climb into my boat.
Me switch cars?
You're rescued. By the boss, is it?
You talking one ear comes out the other. Right now, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. You only know from frogs, liar.
So long now.
Now you, big stuff.
That presumably is me.
Give me a lip, I'll plug you.
I'm speechless.
All right, hand over the parcel.
Parcel? Oh, yeah, the parcel. Here.
Toss it the back window.
Okay, you've got it.
The contents are intact?
Check with your stew.
I'm asking you.
I held out a dime. You want it?
No, you keep it as a tip. That incline over there, you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Well, start climbing it.
What for?
Exercise. Be glad I'm leaving you in shape to climb.
Watch me go. He watched me go, and then I watched him go. No rear license plate I could read. He had black tape over it. I was up against pretty resourceful competition. That much was very plain. When I finally escaped from my country exile, I organized a progress chat with my client, Mrs. Vera Baxter, in an apple orchard. They live like that, the Lucky Baxters. A big house and an apple orchard where the goldfish pond left off.
That it's true. My husband is being blackmailed.
He's dancing to a handsome tune. 10,000 so far, I can vouch for him.
It's my nightmare realized.
The leg man in the situation is a midget with a watermelon for a dome.
The man I saw following me.
The same, undoubtedly. The gent ordering him around is self-conscious about his kisser. Covers it up with a handkerchief. But I caught one facial detail. His nose. It's a pelican beak. Does that mean anything?
No, nothing. I've never seen anyone my husband's in negotiation with. Just what I told you.
Just letters, whispering telephone calls, and mysterious conferences in the garage.
Yes, that's right.
Mrs. Baxter.
Yes, Mr. Craig?
I'm stymied. I've only got one next approach.
What?
Your husband, J.C. himself. Grab the dog by the tail. I've got to talk directly at him.
Oh, no, please.
Oh, without involving you. He won't know you brought me into it.
What will you say?
One artful dodge or another. I've got a lot of experience at being non-committal. Well?
All right, if you think you must. I have to get back to the house now.
I'll wait 10 minutes and then ring the doorbell.
From July 13th, 1954, Barrie Craig, Confidential Investigator. It continues following these important words here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to MediShare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And MediShare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. MediShare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we continue with more of Barrie Craig, Confidential Investigator from July 13th, 1954.
J.C. looked as morose as a guy could get and still want to live. Face tight, every muscle in place. Very close to the screaming Mimi.
I find your visit a little fantastic, Mr. Craig.
In my business, the fantastic is everyday stuff.
To single me out, why?
How is what you really want to ask. How I found my way to you. I'll only tell you what I have so far. Let your imagination fill in the rest. You're paying hush money. You threw $10,000 over the rail at Ramapo Bridge. Now, confide in me.
I'll mind my own business, and I'll thank you to mind yours.
For your own sake, Baxter, any rap is worth facing up to when the alternative is giving into blackmail. Blackmailers keep coming back again and again. You won't have a dime left or a shred of self-respect. My advice is, open up and get done with it.
If I dared what you suggest, I wouldn't have a shred of reputation.
You lick your wounds, take your lumps, and start all over again. Life's a long time. You can fall down and get up. Now, who's blackmailing you and why?
I have nothing to say to you.
Okay, then. I'll go. I'm in a puzzle to stay, Baxter. I can be delayed, but I can't be stopped. I'll be back with the answers one day. Bet on it, Baxter.
Oh, wait.
Now, you're smart to get it off your chest.
Now, this is in strict confidence.
Sorry. I can't make blind promises.
I was abroad 3 months ago. I became involved with a young lady tourist. Oh, platonically, mind you. Nothing compromising. We were only companions.
Go on.
There were talks. I was lonely. There were dinners and walks on the promenade. Visits to museums, the tulip fields in Amsterdam. Just a harmless diversion.
But the young lady tourist made more of it, huh?
She distorted our situation. I've been receiving letters here at home, demands for heart balm, redress. Her broken heart. I'd misrepresented my status. I'd not told her I was already married.
No foundation to any of her claims?
All lies, a blatant fakery. I was only an escort, a friend.
Why are you paying blackmail?
To prevent scandal, to forestall any needless hurt to Vera, my wife.
You feel that vulnerable to pay tribute to a lie?
My social and business situation is sensitive. My colleagues, all of them, blue noses, very provincial. With the merest breath of notoriety. Well, also, my wife is a woman of certain delicacy of spirit. A perverse sense of pride and propriety. I could never make her understand. Vera would turn against me. You see my trap.
I see it all right, only I'm not so sure I believe it.
You don't believe me?
A man your size in the world, Baxter, top dog, a high social level, howling business success. You don't figure to be stupid enough to yield to a blackmail built on a tissue of lies. No, I don't think I believe you.
That's very arbitrary of you.
Whatever's got you playing obliging sucker is motivated by something a lot more potent than an old-fashioned badger game. Now, this girl, what's her name?
I'll not disclose that to you.
And you won't either disclose what she's really got on you. She and company, that is.
I've already told you all there is to tell.
You fed me a line of bunk.
I'm sure you can find your way out.
Yeah, out and right back in. Watch for me. I'll be back to tell you some of the things you've left unsaid. Goodbye now. In due time, I got to identify Baxter's young lady tourist. It wasn't too tough. I accomplished same at the customs desk of the international airport. The passenger list of the plane Baxter had returned from abroad in 3 months before. Only one of the passengers qualified for the description of young lady tourist. Paula Wiley, age 23, residence Manhattan, New York, 216 Marlborough Heights. I found Paula at home and about to decamp, dressed to go out, and 2 suitcases at the door.
Who did you say you were?
Barrie Craig, my credentials.
Police?
Private investigator. I bring you greetings from J.C. Baxter. Oh, you're not going to deny knowing J.C.
How is Mr. Baxter?
Oh, he's got an ulcer growing in all directions. Where were you going?
Away. The Adirondacks. I have a summer job.
Nice ad lib.
I suppose I should resent your talking.
Oh, but you can't. Guilt's all over you like prickly sores. I'll give you a choice.
Choice?
Talk to me here, or let's do it at the Tombs. The chairs are more comfortable here.
What am I being accused of?
Blackmailing J.C. Baxter.
He complained to you?
How else would I be here?
Why, the dirty, underhanded...
Now, try to live up to your ladylike looks.
What did Baxter tell you?
All kinds of things.
It's still inconceivable to me that he'd dare.
Dare send me after you?
Yes. You did say he engaged you.
Well, call him up and ask him. Confirm it. Be smart, baby. Hang Baxter with his own noose. What's Baxter trying to scare you out of?
I'm not sure you're not handing me a line. Come on.
Oh, take the gamble. You're gambling anyhow. Blackmail has its risks.
I take you on good faith. You won't get rich.
I'm resigned to being poor.
Baxter, I was with him in Amsterdam, Holland, the Diamond Center. We were picnicking and taking color pictures of the tulip fields. But Baxter was there for another purpose.
Buying up diamonds.
Industrial diamonds. He didn't know that I knew what he was doing.
You looked beautiful and dumb.
You can guess the rest.
Baxter never declared the diamonds at customs. He smuggled them into the United States.
Yes.
And that's the real blackmail gimmick.
Yes.
Now, the two gentlemen sharing your gold mine, who are they?
Why must you know that?
Well, I'd like to know all the company I keep.
Ben Stacy. He's a sort of boyfriend. He handled all the contacts with Baxter. I never personally appeared in the situation.
Well, where does Stacy hang his hat?
Down the block, the Baker Apartments.
And who is the little fellow with the pumpkin head?
Lou. Stacy uses Lou for odd jobs.
And other times?
Lou works in the Imperial Bowling Alley. He's a pin boy. Oh, wait a minute. Here. For you.
Money.
$500. There'll be more for you another time.
Oh, the things I could do with $500.
You're not going to refuse it.
Take it, I'd lose my license, let alone my self-respect.
Oh.
And the conclusion of Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator, as it was originally broadcast July 13th, 1954, comes up following some important words here from your favorite station. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator, Murder by Error, July 13th, 1954.
Then you're a cop after all.
You're disillusioned?
No, I half expected an outcome like this. But I took the gamble. It's a funny thing.
Yes?
My heart's never been in the thing with Baxter. You see, it's my maiden debut in crime.
You're lucky.
Lucky?
Lucky to be caught first time out. It could prevent your becoming a habitual criminal. Let's go, huh? With Paula in custody, I looked up Ben Stacy at the Baker Apartments. No answer to the door buzzer. A formal entrance doesn't pan out, you try an informal one, which I did. I found Ben Stacy receiving at home. He was in. He'd just been playing possum. Dead possum, that is. On the floor, flat on his back, face up and his eyes blind. The manner of death required no guesswork. He had a hole on the side of his skull the size of a quarter, a bullet hole. There was an ornamental touch to the corpse, a square of gold glittering close by his shoe top. A gold cufflink. Not Stacy's. Stacy wasn't wearing French cuffs. The murderer's cufflink, apparently. It lay there like it had been lost in the struggle between killer and victim. It took less than 60 seconds to find the $10,000 Stacy had relieved me of on the highway. It lay on a bureau top, exposed to the casual eye. I had two brief calls to make, out of respect to the dead. The morgue and homicide. In the tombs, Paula wept for the dead.
I got Stacy into this. It's my fault he's dead.
You cry like he meant something to you.
I was, in a way, in love with him.
Did you maybe, in a way, kill him?
Kill? What possible reason?
Eliminate a partner. It happens, doll, among the best of thieves. You were going away when I caught you.
Get out of here. You get out of here.
In the Imperial Bowling Alley, the balloon-headed stooge Lou looked like he only wished he'd lived a king.
I can't leave here till 6 p.m., mister. They're short of pin boys.
Very sad.
So come around and see me then, huh?
So a mourning band on your sleeve, Lou.
Huh? Hey, somebody died?
Yeah. Your once-in-a-while boss.
Stacy?
Stacy.
What you want to go and tell me for?
You'd rather I hadn't?
Now I won't be able to keep my mind on the pins.
Better that way. Now you can concentrate on your troubles.
Troubles? You're fingering me for the Stacy killing?
You're a suspect, chum. Please join me.
Wait till I set up the alley. And lend a hand there on number 4, huh? Like I told you, they're short-handed today.
more fragrant setting, by the shade of ye old apple tree, Mrs. Vera Baxter clutched her heart.
Murder?
Murder it is. You've really got a domestic nightmare now.
Oh, no, you can't let your suspicions...
I can't exclude your husband as a suspect. He had a pretty impressive motive against Stacy.
But he's incapable. He's a gentleman.
An ungentle crook.
A crook?
Smuggler, I should have said. But the characterization of your mister doesn't really surprise you.
No. No, it doesn't surprise now. Last night in my husband's study, I pried open a drawer.
What did you find?
Diamonds. A bag full of diamonds.
Diamonds he bought in Amsterdam and smuggled across. Your husband had a little racket going for himself.
It's incredible to think that he'd stoop
to profit? The truth out in the open, that's what you hired me for.
Yes, the truth. I don't know how to live in fear.
I now show you a gold cufflink. This one. Can you identify it? Well?
I'm not sure.
Your eyes tell me you are sure. No good trying to evade, Mrs. Baxter.
It's a link to a set I gave my husband. I had them specially designed at our jeweler's. I feel faint.
Yeah, who wouldn't feel?
What does the cufflink mean, Mr. Craig?
I can't say positively, but it could mean the chair for J.C. Baxter.
Oh, no.
While the DA's office figured out which of the three was eligible for electrocution, Baxter, Paula, or Lou, Mrs. Vera Baxter decided to be the best wife a husband ever had. She was in my office in the bright and early a.m.
My husband couldn't have murdered this man, Stacy.
Why not?
I believe the word is alibi.
You can alibi his time?
I can. Jay was at home with me all that day and evening.
Well, that's a sudden thought.
I was too upset to even think yesterday.
You wouldn't be telling a big lie.
I'll swear to what I say. Jay couldn't have done this murder.
Funny thing, I'm inclined to agree with you. I've been doing some clear thinking myself. You don't need to alibi him to save him. A nice try and a nice lie, but unnecessary as it happens. No, your husband couldn't have done the murder. Neither could the other pair.
Not the other pair?
Paula or Lou. You see, while the corpse lay on the floor, the $10,000 lay on the bureau, where I found it.
I don't follow your reasoning.
Neither Paula or Lou would eliminate Stacy and overlook the loot. Only the loot could be their motive to kill. Cut Stacy out, grab everything. And if your husband killed Stacy to stop blackmail, he would cart the $10,000 away. Not only to recover his money, but to provide a red herring. Make it look like a job done by Paula or Lou.
I'm glad you're exonerating my husband, but if you also eliminate the others, then who?
I boil it down to one last suspect. You.
Me?
Uh-huh. You murdering Stacy to implicate your husband. Your revenge.
What revenge would I want?
Revenge for infidelity. You all along thought your husband was paying blackmail to conceal an indiscretion. You didn't know until last night that his actual crime was smuggling. Not philandering with Paula, but smuggling. I'm afraid you played some kind of a crazy joke on yourself, lady.
I don't know what to say.
Well, don't say anything. Think for a long time. And when you're through thinking, make a simple confession, huh?
July 13th, 1954, Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator starring William Gargan on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of the soap opera Claudia. This originally broadcast July 13th, 1954.
And now, Claudia.
What are you doing? I said, what are you doing?
Reading. People send the silliest books to their friends in the hospital.
Oh, you're reading.
Oh, I'm reading.
You didn't watch me dangle.
I watched you the other day. You got feet that dingle, dangle, dingle.
Tingle. But you didn't watch me today. You know I don't think you're taking me very seriously.
I watched you today out of the corner of my eye. You're supposed to be over-dangling,
I
you know.
said tingle. My foot went to sleep. I wasn't really dangling.
I didn't think it was a first-rate performance.
Oh.
That's why I didn't give it my undivided attention.
Say, did I tell you what Mrs. Fegan said this morning? You know, I don't think you are paying much attention.
Oh.
I said, did I tell you what Mrs. Fegan said this morning?
Mrs. Fegan? Who's Mrs. Fegan?
Mrs. Fegan is the cleaning lady who does this room up every single morning.
Oh, that Mrs. Fegan.
Then you know what she said.
Darling, I didn't know there was a Mrs. Fegan, so how could I know what she said?
You are the most difficult man in the world to pay a compliment to.
Now I am utterly confused. What is this all about?
It's the trade last.
A what?
A trade last.
Oh.
You tell me something nice about me, and I'll tell you what Mrs. Fegan said.
This sounds like a racket. Extortion, that's what it is. What did Mrs. Fegan say?
Last.
She did. What a very profound observation.
Goop. You give me a compliment first, or I'll never tell you what Mrs. Fegan said. Your tongue could be hanging out.
Well, no. Oh, yes. The chief floor nurse told me yesterday that in all of her 35 years' experience in the hospital, she had never, but never known any woman to be so remarkable, so efficient in the business of having a baby.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I just have a knack for it.
Now, don't you think that you'd better dangle some more?
Why, I just did.
Well, your leg must have gone to sleep again. I just pulled it. Almost pulled it off, and you didn't seem to be aware of it.
Oh, you. And the nurse didn't say those things. For that, I won't tell you what Mrs. Fegan said about you.
Well, if the nurse didn't say it, I did. I'm the fellow you get your best compliments from anyway. All right. Now my tongue is hanging out.
Well, Mrs. Fegan said, what a brave bundle of a baby he was, the living spit of his fine, handsome daddy with a fist on him and a set to his jaw that would set the world rocking one of these days.
No.
Just like his fine, good-looking daddy.
She said that.
That she did.
And you didn't dangle before she came in. You dangled after she left.
Yes, why?
Because she was pulling your leg. Mrs. Fegan, you can tell her, from David O'Shaughnessy Norton, not only kissed the Blarney Stone when she was a wee bit of a lass, but she bit off a piece of it, too. Mrs. Fegan has never seen this fine, handsome husband of yours, and as for our offspring being the living spit of me, that is an ill-chosen simile. That is rank defamation and libel.
What is?
Well, he hasn't hardly any hair at all. He looks like he's been left out in the sun and parboiled. He makes the most outrageous faces and...
Go on.
And he's forever blowing bubbles. Now, if that's a portrait of me, one or the other of us is being libeled.
Pretty bubbles. I think you're unjust. He's a beautiful baby.
Of course he's a beautiful baby. Did I say he wasn't?
Well...
But I don't think he's spitting or any other kind of image of a 30-year-old man.
I will tell him what you said, and he won't speak to you
He doesn't
again.
speak to me now. He just blows bubbles.
Pretty bubbles.
When he gets them out over his chin, they're pretty.
Well, he does most of the time. He's a very dry baby.
Oh, darling, don't be silly. There is no such thing as a dry baby. A dry baby is an anachronism, a self-contradiction, an impossibility.
Well, as babies go,
He goes on and on like Tennyson's brook. Fegan.
What about Mrs. Fegan?
Nothing about Mrs. Fegan. It's just the name. It slipped my memory. You know how it is when something escapes your memory? It stands around and bothers you for days. Where was that magazine I was looking at yesterday?
It's under that pile on the lower shelf of the table.
Here we are. I'd like to write this editor a letter. He's a bad journalist. You don't tell the story of a boy cutting down a cherry tree and not mention the name of George
What
Washington.
in the world are you talking about?
Fegan.
Well, I don't get it, darling.
The world has a short memory. Here it is, the Jarvis Bay, right here. They even have a picture of it, and they don't mention the name of a man who did it.
Did what?
Flung an answer in the teeth of a power-hungry nation and let them know that one single freeborn man could declare personal war upon evil.
Jarvis Bay.
The Jarvis Bay was a dirty little tramp cargo vessel.
And?
She slam-banged around the world carrying pig iron and tin pans and clothespins.
Sounds like a floating department store.
She was, sort of. Oh, yes. I forgot to mention it. Part of her cargo was heroes.
Heroes? It's cargo? I don't get it.
Yes, heroes. As in courage.
Go on.
Some mad men ran amok and war swept over the world. And the free people of the world were caught unaware and unprepared. And the free flow of the things they needed to live by became just a trickle. Even that dried up as submarines prowled the oceans and the enemy cruisers harried the sea.
But the Navy?
No, there wasn't enough Navy to go around for all the oceans of the world.
And the losses?
Were terrific. By the tens of hundreds. Ships and their cargoes and their men were sunk and lost.
I remember. They armed them, didn't they?
Yes, when they dug up a few guns to spare, they armed them. They put guns on them and sent them out, but it was like giving a boy a slingshot to go out and attack a machine gun.
There was a boy named David who went forth with a slingshot.
Miracles are memorable. You remember David's name, but the editor of this magazine, he had a short memory for names. There's a picture of the Jarvis Bay. Look at it.
Those few glittering hours. Title they've put with it. Makes your blood ring.
Those few glittering, deadly hours of action which rivet the eyes of all the world. It all started prosaically. 33 ships assembled in a harbor, and then the order to adventure without escort into the North Atlantic, where a German battleship harried the sea lanes and U-boats lurked beneath. There were too many prayers on men's lips in those days for all of them to be answered. On that November day in 1940, a German sea raider came coursing up over the horizon toward them.
What happened?
Well, the ships started to disperse in all directions to run for it.
According to plan.
But what happened next, no man had ever dared to plan or dream. You know, nothing can live within the withering firepower of a battleship. And the first shell struck them. A shell fragment tore through the wheelhouse. A man was killed. Where the captain's right arm hung, there was nothing. A few shreds of flesh. It had been ripped off.
Makes me sick in the pit of my stomach to think about it.
The captain finally gave the order to turn his ship.
The only thing he could do.
That was what he thought. The only thing he could do, and he gave the order to turn toward the battleship and attack.
Attack?
One glittering hour that riveted the eyes of all the world.
What happened?
What could only happen? This really occurred. It isn't out of a storybook. The Jarvis Bay was sunk.
Then it was all... Then nothing...
Oh, yes, a great deal was accomplished. Souls like the captain of the Jarvis Bay and his men are not easily quenched. 32 ships escaped over the horizon and out into the night to live and to bear their cargoes before the Jarvis Bay went down.
And they didn't die in vain.
Yeah. Dying isn't an easy business, no matter how good the reason. No, they didn't die in vain. That night, the world tightened its belt. The odds were heavy, and it would be a long war. But evil cannot survive so long as the soul of a single man will not be conquered. That night, a little man with a mad glint in his eyes covered his silly mustache to still the nervous twitch that worked there as he pondered. What breed of men are these who could love freedom so?
You talk as if the sinking of this one ship marked a turning point in the war.
It was one of them. History, for so immense a thing, can turn on so small a point. The men who went down on the Jarvis Bay and men like them made it possible for us to continue to live in freedom, to bear this son we've just had in a democracy of free men, to know a respite in peace in the long struggle against oppression and evil. We owe these men too much, far too much, to allow their deeds and their names to slip away forgotten. Turn to page 2 in that magazine. There's a picture of a movie actress and her 6th husband. Now, the editor forgot to mention the name of the captain of the Jarvis Bay, but he didn't forget to spell out her 6 married names. No, look, they're all right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a case of cockeyed values.
What was the name of the captain of the Jarvis Bay, David?
Fagan. No relation, I imagine, of your Mrs. Fagan, though she should be proud to share his name. Fogarty Fagan.
Sounds like battle cry.
Battle cry? It was just that. It was a battle cry. Fogarty Fagan. Captain Fogarty Fagan of the Jarvis Bay. It's a name to remember.
When the working folks of the family discuss the office or plant or shop where they spend 8 hours a day, you'll probably hear them mention the Coke cooler every once in a while. Those friendly coolers have become a standby because they enable people to work refreshed. Why shouldn't you work refreshed at home? All you have to do is keep plenty of Coca-Cola on ice. Then you can reach for an ice-cold bottle after you've had a strenuous hour or two of housework. It's a mighty sensible idea. Try it.
Say, Joe, tell me, do you ever take your children walking?
Oh, surely I do.
Well, tell me, how soon after they were born did you start?
Almost immediately. Took them out walking in a, what do you call that thing? Perambulator.
Oh, perambulator. You don't say.
And you'd better practice on pushing one of those things, too, David. It's not quite as easy as it looks.
Oh, now go on, Joe. Go on. It's a cinch, I know.
All right. You can tell me tomorrow if it's a cinch.
Tomorrow?
Yes, because, David, that's when you'll find out. See you then.
So long, Joe.
July 13th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for listening. Please visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. That way, if you miss a day, you never have to be without hearing a show here from Classic Radio Theater. You can also hear the shows there on demand, and you can find other places where it's available. You can find out how to build a classic radio collection of your own, and you can also contact me, find our social media links, and if you like the show, you can buy me a coffee. That would be nice as well. Thank this station, support their advertisers, and tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.